Welcome back to my channel, and welcome if you're new here. My name is Heather. It is the end of January, the end of the first month of 2023, and in this video I wanted to chat a bit about the books that I read this month. January was actually a really good reading month for me. I think most of these books were either 4 or 5 stars, and I'm so excited to talk about these books with you today. I don't know what the weather is like where you are, but here where I am in Canada, it's been super snowy and super cold, so I'm just so excited to be sitting down with you today, talking about books and having a little cozy moment. So grab something warm, a coffee or tea, whatever your drink of choice is, and let's dive right into these books. The first book I read in January was The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood. This was a reread for me. I read this book for the first time a couple of years ago, and this was an easy 5-star read for me. For those of you that don't know anything about The Handmaid's Tale, it is set in a dystopian future with commentary on misogyny and will really make you sit back and think about the world that we're living in today. I've watched quite a few interviews with her talking about this book, and she always makes a point of saying that all of the things that happen in this book have actually happened sometime in human history, which really makes you think how crazy this world is that we're living in. This book is chilling and gripping and has absolutely beautiful, beautiful writing. But yes, in the obscured sky, a moon does float, newly, a wishing moon, a sliver of ancient rock, a goddess, a wink. The moon is a stone, and the sky is full of deadly hardware, but oh God, how beautiful anyway. I just love that. Another line that I absolutely adore is, "It's impossible to say a thing exactly the way it was, because what you say can never be exact. You always have to leave something out. There are too many parts, sides, cross currents, nuances, too many gestures which could mean this or that, too many shapes which can never be fully described, too many flavors in the air or on the tongue, half colors, too many." If you haven't read this book yet, I highly recommend that you pick it up this year. My dogs just come in to say hello. The next book I read in January was To the Lighthouse by Virginia Woolf. I had been wanting to read this book for quite a while, and I'm glad I picked it up this year. I did enjoy it. I think I gave it either 3 or 4 stars. It took me, I'm not gonna lie, about 50 pages to really get into this book and start to understand Virginia Woolf's writing and prose. But when I finally did, it definitely had a great payoff. Virginia Woolf's writing is absolutely stunning. There was this one chapter, I believe, where many of the characters are at a dinner party, and Virginia Woolf takes us through almost every single character's individual thoughts that are going through their head at this dinner party. So you get to see so many different perspectives, and I've never really read anything quite like that before, and I really enjoyed that type of writing. So I thought that was really interesting, and I always love books that focus on different perspectives. This was just a different way of doing it for me. So instead of having one chapter focusing on one individual character and their thoughts, Virginia Woolf kind of lumped it all into this one chapter with all of the characters' thoughts as to what was going on at this dinner party. So that was extremely interesting to read. And I just thought Virginia Woolf was so in tune with what other people were thinking. You can tell that she would have been a very introspective, thoughtful person if she had the ability to really dive deep and figure out what these characters would have been thinking at any given time. I'm very intrigued to pick up more novels by Virginia Woolf this year. I think I have Mrs. Dalloway on my to-be-read list for 2023, so I'm definitely excited to pick that one up and see another piece of literature by Virginia Woolf. Next up we have So You Want to Talk About Race by Ijeoma Oluo. I listened to this one on audiobook because that's how I enjoy reading nonfiction pieces. So You Want to Talk About Race discusses topics such as police brutality, microaggressions, affirmative action, and cultural appropriation. The author writes about each of these specific topics in a clear, concise way, while sometimes bringing humor into it as well, so it made it a very enjoyable read. Ijeoma is an extremely talented writer and obviously extremely knowledgeable in this field of work. And I think hers is an important voice to listen to as we navigate these very difficult topics. I do think this should also be mandatory reading for people of all races. I think everyone could learn at least one new thing from this incredible book. This was a 5-star read for me, and I can't recommend it enough. Things are about to get weird now because I read Bunny this month, and weird is honestly an understatement for this book. I don't know what I really expected going into this book, and I saw someone post on Goodreads in their review that this was a mix between Mean Girls and Frankenstein, and I think that absolutely hit the nail on the head with this one. This book follows our main character named Samantha as she is at university and she gets pulled into this group of girls that she's been always very aware of, but also a little bit shy or hesitant to get to know. And once she joins their group, things go sideways real quick. I truly don't even know what else to say with this one. Just when you think it can't get any weirder, it does. To be quite honest with you, I actually think I had a nightmare because I was reading this book and it was really gripping my psyche for whatever reason. I do think it was well written and it definitely gripped me from beginning to end, so I ended up giving it 4 stars. Do I think everyone would love this book? No. No, I don't. I think it's either a love it or a hate it, and at the end of it, you'll very well be sitting there thinking, what the F did I just read? But I also really liked it for that reason because of how creative it was and how out there it was and how bold this author was in making the decision to write this novel. So, do I recommend it? Yes, and I wish you luck. The next book I read was Every Summer After by Carley Fortune. I'm not really a romance reader. I had put this book on hold on my library a couple weeks ago and it ended up coming in sooner than I had anticipated. So I needed to go and pick it up because I only had 3 weeks to read it because I know that someone else is waiting for it. So would I have wanted to read Every Summer After in the winter when it's snowing outside? No, probably not. I had actually wanted to take this book with me to Florida in a couple of weeks, so anyway, it is what it is. I did really enjoy my time with this book. I think I gave it 4 stars. This book follows Persephone and Sam, who meet when they're about 13 years old, I think, at their cottages in northern Ontario, cottage country, which I didn't realize at first that this book was set in Ontario cottage country as well as Toronto. And when I found that out when I was reading, I just absolutely fell in love with that concept. It's not very often that I hear about or read books that are set in cottage country, Ontario. My husband's family has a cottage up north, so I could completely smell and see all of the scenery that they were describing, talking about sitting on the dock, having a glass of wine and things like that. I could totally picture it in my head, and it made the experience with this book so much more enjoyable for me. So this book follows Sam and Percy over the years as they grow up and they spend every summer together, but then something happens and their relationship falters until they meet again in the future. I won't tell you much more than that because I feel like I would give something away, but it was extremely fun to read. It was very easy to read. I found myself wanting to find out what happened between these two characters. This was also the author's debut novel, which I thought was extremely impressive for a debut novel. Overall, the story was extremely heartwarming and would be a great book to take with you on a vacation somewhere warm when you're sitting in the sun, having a glass of wine by the water. This next book was another 5-star read for me, and that is The Light We Carry by Michelle Obama. Michelle Obama has done it again. The Light We Carry was absolutely stunning. I listened to the audiobook, which was read by Michelle Obama herself, and it was absolutely gripping. This book made me laugh out loud and it brought me to tears. Because I was listening to the audiobook for this one, I was listening to it during my commute to and from work. So it made me really look forward to my drives to and from work every single day. And I was honestly sad when it ended. This book was more of a self-help book, if you will. However, she did bring in some of her own personal stories from her childhood to adulthood, which put a more personal spin on it, and I did enjoy those aspects quite a bit. Typically, I don't read books from the self-help genre, but since Michelle wrote this one, I was absolutely on board with it. She is such a great storyteller and such a fantastic role model for the younger generation. And lastly, a book that I'm currently in the middle of, or at least 71 pages through, is An American Marriage by Tayari Jones. I am really enjoying this one so far. This book is about, spoiler alert, an American marriage where the husband is sent to jail for a crime he did not commit. I believe it follows them through the years while he is in jail, and his wife Celestial continues her life outside. I'll probably end up giving you my full review at the end of February when I do my wrap up for that month, because I'll probably be finishing this book in early February. I am loving the writing style so far. It has gripped me from the very first chapter. I'm currently in the section where they're writing letters to and from each other while Roy is in jail, and the writing is stunning. So that is just a little sneak peek on An American Marriage. So that is it for this one. Those are all the books I read in January. Thank you so much for watching this video. Let me know in the comments below what you read in January. And if you have any book recommendations for me, please feel free to leave them in the comments below. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Bye!